Hi guys, so I thought today get out and do a little bit messing around. I still need to do a part 2 on my kukri, but I just kind of want to play around a little bit today. That's going to take a lot of grinding. I want to do more pounding today. So I had a thought. Of course, camping season's coming up. It's spring, or will be spring in a couple days. So last year I bought some tomahawk handles, a tomahawk drift, so it's shaped like the handles. And so I kind of came up with an idea. What if I take some of my railroad spikes and work on making like a hatchet head, axe head on one side, put the hole in, drive the drift to fit the handle, make the other end kind of just a blunt, I don't know, maybe just kind of hammer a little bit. So to go with that theme, so last fall my wife and I found some old rail line. I believe it would probably be from a mine. To run rail, a rail, and I don't know, I want to say coal cars, but run cars up and down a rail in a mine. But what's weird is this piece we found beside a river, half buried, so I cut some off, brought it home. So my thought is the higher carbon steel should be the top where the wheels run on a cart. So what I'm thinking is we'll take a chunk off and we'll see if we can turn some of a rail into a hatchet. And also, since I like to run two things in the forge at once, we'll do a railroad spike. So one will be the spike, one will actually be the rail. And I just thought that might make an interesting little set of some camp hatchets. So I'll get it set up to cut this piece off. I'm hoping this will be higher carbon, maybe hold an edge better. The railroad spike, of course. Alright guys, so camera cut off for some reason, but a railroad spike does not have as high carbon, so it's not going to hold an edge as well, but I think it'll be functional for camp use. And I'm hoping the rail will have more carbon and will hold the edge longer. So let's see how this goes. Well, it's eating the disc pretty good, so let's change the disc. Alright guys, the other thing I'm not sure of is how much material I'm going to need. So I'm going to guess, let's see, so the handle where it should end up would be about 1.5 inches, but that's all going to spread. I want to move a pretty decent amount of metal. I'm going to say I'm going to go 3 inches in, leave plenty of metal to move out here for the hatchet. So to start the drift is about 3/4 of an inch. So we'll do that. And then I might leave 1 inch off the back just to kind of have a little hammering, you know, setting maybe tent stakes or something at camp, or just banging on something. So I think I'll leave 1 inch off the back. So I'm going to try a 5-inch piece of this stock. We'll see how that goes. Trial and error. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to go ahead and clean it up a little bit. I just don't want to get a bunch of crap in any inclusions in the metal. So let's get this out of the way. Alright guys, so even though I didn't want to do a bunch of grinding, there's always a lot of prep work, cleaning. So there we've got a 5-inch piece of stock. Not perfectly cleaned up, but cleaned up. And so I'll get the Camera turned around here. We'll start the forge and we'll start banging away and seeing what we get here. Alright, get the forge fired up. Get some other stuff out of here. Okay, just to show you guys real quick. So before I started filming, I thought, let's just go ahead and see what happens. And I thought, well, maybe I better film it. So here's a railroad spike that I already started to bash on a little bit. So, but I thought this might be a neat thing to record, doing the railroad spike versus the top rail of a railway. So a lot heavier, so I think there is a lot more carbon in this, which would make sense. So everything gets hot, it'll burn a lot cleaner. Once again, that's a Mr. Volcano forge 2 burner. I mostly just use 1 burner. Plenty of heat, and I don't have to burn as much gas. But I did go with a 2 burner, so if I ever do want to forge weld, which I am not set up for, I would have the potential to grow. So that was the whole purpose of that. We'll start getting this metal hot. See what happens. The piece of the railroad is a lot heavier than a railroad spike. But I think in the long term it'll make a lot better like camp hatchet. Maybe out of the railroad spike, maybe we'll just go ahead and we'll see, but maybe that'll make a better tomahawk for throwing, being a little lighter. Who knows? See what happens. Bring you guys along. Okay guys, so while I'm letting that get hot, I'll turn this off for a couple minutes. Once everything's hot and we're starting to move some metal, I'll turn it back on. Alright guys, so we definitely have some heat into the railroad spike. The other piece of the rail, at the top of the rail, that's a lot bigger. It's going to keep taking more heat. So I'm going to go ahead and bring you guys in. Doing some banging on this. is on the rail piece. I'll get it a little bit better squared, put into shape, and then I think I'm going to drive the punch, do the hole. I need to do that with the spike too, because I'm thinking I've got my hole here in the anvil, but if I get too much of a blade shape or anything, I won't be able to work on driving the hole. So I think I better drive the hole through and then work on blade shape, and then just cleaning up a little bit once we're getting closer to the end. You know, do a little bit of cleanup on the shape, make sure that the handle will fit. But yeah, this is my first time doing a handled hatchet, so we'll learn together. So something that's going to be a little bit of a struggle for me, none of my tongs are for anything this thick. So I've only got 3 tongs. I've got one set up for basically 3/16 to a quarter flat. I've got my railroad spike grabber. So it's got the shape in it to let me grab square stock. And then same here, so I can reach over the head of a railroad spike. So this is about the best thing I have for anything thick, but it doesn't always grab on the best. It works pretty good, but so I should probably make some more tongs. I gotta, you know, if you ever see like a blacksmith shop or anything like that, you'll see like, I don't know, hundreds of tongs, just lots of them, and they're all because of different thicknesses, different places to grab, you know, if things are oval, square, round, you know, just helps to have more tongs. So we do got to do more of that in the future. I better figure out where we're punching the hole, so I'll get this hot in the right spot. Not sure how far to go back on this one. Probably 2 to 2 1/4 inches. I'm going to go back from the head and see if we can start driving a hole through. So I'll get that hot. Well, let's get it marked. my mark. I have seen where some people will figure out where their deal's going to go through, and they'll drill holes on each side. So as you're going through with your punch, you punch out a slug a lot cleaner. You do lose a little bit of material, but that can also stop you from getting fractures and stuff at the end where it starts to split. If you've drilled a clean hole, it's a cleaner place for that to expand and not just do these, do a split or a fracture. So maybe I should take a moment and do that step. I think that'll be a cleaner place for the punch to follow, and I think that might just be the way to go. So we'll pause for a second and do that. I'll finish getting this squared up, not quite squared, get the shape a little more where I want it. Get this one lined up. I'll get these both cooled back off a little bit, get ready to drill the holes, and then we'll start our punch, we'll start our drive. So I'm going to turn this off for a few minutes instead of just wasting the gas. And for me, this will turn into a chimney if you leave this here, so this will get really hot, could melt this hose. So I just like to back this off, get it out of the way. Now we're not going to melt the hose. Alright friends, so gonna get ready to drill the holes for the drift. The drift starts at around 3/4 of an inch wide, and so I want that to be the outside edges, so when we punch through we're just punching a plug out. And the other thing that by drilling a hole, it keeps everything straight, so when you start to drive a chisel, like I will be starting with a chisel, cold chisel, and then switch over to the drift because I got to get things started. This has not got a big point to it. So there is two different theories. If we use the cold chisel, we're going to move all the material out of our way and push it to the side. So maybe what I'll do, so anyway, that's one theory, is that you move the material, you leave all the material in there. This is a flat, this is blunt. So what this can do is actually push a plug out, and then thereby you're actually removing some material. Alright, so having fun with my GoPro today, guys. Keeps turning off on me. I don't think it's getting too hot, but it is turning off. Anyway, when it's blunt, you push a plug out and you lose that amount of material in your stock. I'm not worried about that. I've got, plenty of material here. So I'm not worried about actually losing just a little plug of material. Especially on this one, I'll probably be, once we start getting some shape, I might have to take a little bit off. There's a lot of metal here. Not so much in this. This will probably be a smaller, you know, this might be the tomahawk. This might be more of a camp hatchet. So we'll see. So anyway, I am going to get these ready to drill because I want to keep the hole straight instead of drifting off to a side as you're going through, which can happen. So I've got my hole punch, you know, make my marks so that the drill bit has a place to start. When I was originally looking at this, I thought, oh, I'll go down through the material so that, you know, there's more material here to spread out as a blade. Well, that's a long way. That's 1.25 inches to go through to drift. So I think what I'm going to do is just go this 1/2 inch way, drill my holes, put, you know, do the drift, and then we can move this material and we will move the material the other way into the blade. So I just think that's going to be easier in the long run. So that's what we're going to try. If it doesn't work, then next time I'll have to go the long way and we'll see. I think that'd be simpler for the forging, but not simpler for the drift. So we'll find out. Alright, so I've got this marked. We want it. Get our hole punch. Okay. So I've got my marks on here. I've got my marks on the spike. So I'll turn the camera, and shop's not the cleanest right now, guys, I'll be honest, but we'll try and get you to where you can see me drilling these. I'm just going with, I don't know, might be a 3/16 drill bit, just something that gives me a clean edge on either side. Let's see, just try and catch the drill press without all my other junk. Alright. Oh, and something that helps a lot, guys, when you're using a drill press is something to hold your material. This is just a cheapy drill press clamp from Harbor Freight, but so far it's worked out really good for me. I don't know, might have been 15, 17 bucks at Harbor Freight, but just really nice so things aren't moving. I don't have to work so hard to clamp on this table. So get this set in here. And my drill press should be set to a pretty slow speed. I'm not, you know, this is the one I'm using for metal, so I just try and keep it set at a slow speed. Doesn't need to be fast, just want to go nice and slow through metal. So I'll get some of my cutting oil here. Alright, we'll just get a little hole started, add some cutting oil here and see what we got. Alright guys, so see, I've got the holes drilled through, not perfectly center but darn close, and so now that gives a nice place for this to follow through and get a nice clean punch. I'll get it, hopefully a plug out of this material. And like you saw, this is pretty soft, especially, I mean, it, you know, hasn't been dipped in oil to be heat treated yet, but even when I do, it's not going to be that hard a material. So railroad spikes will not hold a sharp edge for very long. You can get them sharp, but they're going to go dull. But real easy to drill through. So now we'll show you the difference with the top of that rail. I think this will probably take a little bit more to drill, but let's get it set up and find out. So that actually drilled out really nice. So hopefully it's just because I took the temper out of it. By heating it up and then just letting it cool slowly. Hopefully I took the temper out of this material, because I'm hoping this will harden up pretty good. But there we go. We've got our holes drilled. So just as a side note, when I was using this clamp, I could have clamped it to this drill press table, just so it doesn't move. But I find once the hole is started, it's not, you know, it's not jumping around. So, and using oil to keep the drill bit cool so it cuts good. And plus, a lot of heat leaves with the metal shavings. As long as you're getting good shavings, that heat is leaving with the shavings. And another thing you can look at is the color of the metal that you're drilling. So let me show you on my deal here. I showed it on my last video, but you've got heat here, and as the color starts to change on your metal, you can have a rough idea of the heat range you're in. So if you start seeing like a light straw, dark straw to brown color, you know your metal's getting hot, especially if you start to see blue. So it's just a good thing to keep an eye on your metal when you're drilling. If you start seeing it to change color, you know, okay, it's getting hot. We're getting up around 500 degrees in that range. I should either use more oil or just drill slower. So just as a reference, guys. Okay. So now that I've got those drilled out, we'll get these heated back up. And we'll see if we can start using a punch and our drift. See if we can get a hole in these, and that way we're starting to prep for our handle. So let's do that. the metal. So I went ahead and took one of my cold chisels, just ground a blunt end on it, because we're just going to go for punching out a whole slug. I've never tried that, so I just want to give it a try, see how it goes. We'll find out. Start pushing some material. So the hard part for me is I have this little beak on the back here. For me, well, maybe I can line it up over that hole, because over here on my anvil, it's going to be close. I might just be able to line it up on my preacher hole for the anvil there. Okay, that might work. So you can see I'm a little bit off center, unfortunately, but once we have our drift in there, we can move some material around. I think we'll be okay. Some people don't. There's just a lot of heat coming off that metal, and I have accidentally, it's a hard habit. If something drops or starts to fall, you want to grab it. In this case, you do not want to do that. So I still feel a lot of heat through the gloves, but it is just a little extra protection that I personally would rather wear. As you saw, I should probably find a little thing of water to dip this in. You don't want your chisel to get untempered, to get too hot and mess up your chisel, or cold punch, whatever, So I'm going to find something here that I can just put a little bit of water in and keep this cooled off. Alright guys, it's starting to warm up out here. We started at 40 degrees this morning, and with the sun out and with the forge on, we're up to 60. So I changed my hat, might be changing my coat here in a little bit. back into shape. Some material. Okay, so you can see, maybe, but I was just starting to get a little bit of a straw, a little bit of a gold color in this punch. So just, this stuff's really hot. Doesn't take long to get a smaller piece of metal hot. So, I still got some heat coming off of that, so definitely just need to keep dipping it, keep it cool. Pushing the plug, but we're getting a pretty good bulge out the back, so we'll just keep going, see how it goes. It might, you know, if this was still sharp, it might make more sense to push that stuff to the side, but I definitely wanted to try it this way. Try next is do a little bit from the other side, just so that we're getting some of that material moving, and then hopefully then it'll just punch out. But I don't think I want to keep just going off from one side, so we'll try that. That metal to shear and punch out. So I think if I do a little bit on the back side, I'm causing the metal to move, and maybe we can get a little bit more shear action going. Just chasing it back and forth a little bit, do the same thing. At least this way you guys get to learn, and so do I. Because these are my first plugs that I've ever tried to punch out. And as you can see, this is brand new. So I've never used this drift before. Going for it. And my temperature in here is about to hit 70, so I'll lose a layer. that time we did a little bit of the punch from the back side. So, see what happens. Backside there. So that's the back side. There's the front. So I'm going to switch back to the front. See if we can start getting that plug to move. Same on this one. Go back to the front. Looks like I'm getting some damage from my hole going that way. I'm going to go back to the back side again, and we might have to clean that up a little bit. We'll see, but I think we're getting somewhere with the plugs. So. So this anvil, guys, I've got a 1-inch hole in the anvil, and these spikes are only 7/16, 5/8, somewhere in that range, depending on how shaped they are. But going over a 1-inch hole with a 3/4 inch punch, that material's bending in the hole more than what I would really prefer. But I don't have a smaller hole, so maybe in the future I gotta build something that goes into this to neck it down, like put a sleeve in for when I'm doing smaller material. The rail face that we're using seems to be holding up pretty good, so I think it's just the material. Somewhere, guys. I think we're finally moving some metal. And I'm going to go back to the back on this one. don't want to over flex this. The damage I'm getting from this edge of this hole. So in the future I'll probably come up with a sleeve. So maybe next time when I do one of these, I'll do a comparison of the chisel spreading the material out of the way versus trying to punch a plug. I might prefer just to push it out of the way. I think I'd already be through and starting to expand my hole. But this way, by knocking out, kind of leaving more room for this. Because you can see we're going to start 3/4 inch wide, about 1/4 inch, and we're going to end up here in the 1.5 inch range. So that metal's got to do a lot of moving. To a pretty good point that we ought to be punching that slug out pretty soon. Oh, I think I'm seeing it. Hopefully this next heat, get that punch out. So this hole, one thing that is nice about being bigger is when I start trying to drive my drift through, I mean, I've got a lot more room. So I will have to find some material that will let me do my drift, because right now, that's all the bigger I can get it on my anvil. I still have half to go. So I will have to find something that will let me do a full drift. But I've got different stock around here, so I should be able to come up with something. This one should be close too. We definitely got the slug in there to move a little. I'm seeing a bulge on the back side, so we should be getting close. Successful. We got the plug out. Okay, so now we'll have to get this in the heat, clean things up a little bit, start shaping. I was hoping I would see the plug. there. Let's see if we flip it. So the plug, okay, let me show you guys. So it's kind of rolled over. So plug is right there. I'm going to put a little bit more heat to it just because I don't want to do it too cold. Alright, so I'm just going to get this shaped back down a little bit before we start running the drift through. Put some heat. We'll see. You can see it's not perfectly centered, but it's not awful. But we'll start doing the drift, and then when we do the drift, we can shape around it. So, feeling good. So right there's the plug. Just got to get it to break the rest of the way free. Catch them, so be careful. Alright guys, so just one punched out slug. So now we have a hole to start drifting. Looks like I better flatten it out a little bit more before we get too far. Try that, put some more heat in it. Alright, so I don't know how well you'll be able to tell, but I did get some straw and even a little bit up to blue. So there is a lot of heat transferring from those bigger stalks into this with it being thinner. So just important, keep it cooled off. Try not to let it get too hot and lose its temper. since it's my first time doing this, I gotta learn which way I need to orientate my drift so it ends up correct with the handle. So it looks like the point is forward. At least that's what I'm gonna go with. So I gotta put this point, this teardrop, towards the head of the axe. And to start, I'll be going back and forth on each side just to get it opened up a little more evenly since there's such a long way to go. And then I would finish it and make sure it's shaped to this drift at the end. Whatever coating this had on it, it stinks, but definitely wearing it off now. And I don't know if I've said anything about it in this video, but something I went through, and I weighed all my hammers. Can make a difference on, you know, how long your arm lasts, and I haven't been doing a lot of this lately, so I am going to be, you know, my arms aren't going to hold up real well. But I weighed all of them and then I hang them in order. So if I'm feeling like, well, I don't want so much weight in the hammer, I can grab a couple ounces less. Mine start at 1.12 ounces, 2, 2.5, 2.13, 3.4, 3.7, 4.2. So I got a pretty good range there. I kind of like the 2.13 ounce, 2 pounds, 13 ounces, and the 2 pound, 5 ounce. Those are kind of my go-tos. Starting to open up. So once I get down to close to about half of this, maybe before I'll be doing some shaping. I mean, as you can see, a pretty good bulge there. I'll be moving some of that metal around, just start getting things shaped in, so that'll all just keep progressing. So I think what I'm going to have to do is flatten off this beak. I need to be able to lay this over the hole to get my drift to go in, but with that beak there, I'm not getting to that hole, so I'm going to, I'll probably leave the metal. I think I'll just heat it, push the metal back in, work on it, and then stretch the metal back out later. do is just bounce back to a cold chisel on that rail top. Just try and get that to open up a little bit more so I can start moving it. Got that beak more where I want it. Now you can see I've got it pushed a little bit more to the side. I think I'll do it one more time from the other side. Just try and get more room for that drift. That time. So you can see it's starting to take a little bit shape now. So now the next time it's on here, I'll probably do some work on the metal, just kind of keep getting things to stretch, but not get too violent with it. Okay, one more time, chisel. Now we got a better hole to be working with, I think. Liking it. We're starting to open up, getting a decent hole there. So put this back in. Alright guys, so you can see we've got the hole opened up. So now this, once I start shaping this, I got to move all this metal to this way. But that was so that I could do the hole punch in the smaller, the narrower part of the metal. So it's going to be interesting. So we'll be chasing this one a little while. And who knows, we'll see as I push it out. We're going to get some fractures. And so as you get fractures, you want to grind them, cut them off, because you don't want those to chase into the metal. So we'll see how all that goes. Show you real quick on here. So you can kind of see, so here's railroad spike head when you start. So already bashing it flat, you can see there's some of these ridges in here. So as I flatten this out, I'll keep grinding or cutting those off, because I don't want those to end up in the final blade, because all that could put some fractures in. So as I move this, I want to keep that end clean. And another thing I have to watch out for is when I'm moving all this, that I keep it clean and don't see anything. But that's where drilling the two holes for either side of the drift to go through gives it a nicer curve in there. Whereas if I just did a straight cold chisel, I'd be basically putting a split in, and that split could start to chase up, and I didn't want that. So that's why I went with the drill bit, just so that I had a nice even curve for everything to just work, to start moving, and just didn't want that split to happen. So that's why I did that. So I'm going to go ahead and take a break, guys. This might be the end of part one. Depends on how today goes. I got a few errands to run. But anyway, glad I could bring you along. And brand new drift. This is the first time I'm doing this, guys. I have seen some videos for some rough ideas, but I'm kind of a, get some ideas and then go for it kind of a guy. So hope you like. Please hit that thumbs up and feel free to share. Please share, and we'll see you guys later. Have a good one.